Welcome back to the Echoes podcast. I'm Jessica Smetana. He's Mike Golic Jr. We are back here to discuss the 70-7 blowout win over Syracuse that Notre Dame played in over this weekend on Senior Day. Please, if you like the show, like and subscribe, rate and review. Your comments mean a lot to us. We love reading especially our YouTube comments, our podcast reviews. They're all so positive and amazing. We have another awesome guest today. Jadarian Price joins us. But before we get to that, Mike, we need to discuss one of I think we can say definitively, the biggest blowout of our lifetime over another team by Notre Dame.
I've never seen anything like this. Again, peeling it back, sometimes I am, calling games over on TNT at the same time Notre Dame games are going on. And so I'll inevitably get texts from Jess at the start of the game, when things start to happen. And my text from Jess started blowing up. My Notre Dame college group chat started blowing up. And I was like, all right, what the hell's going on? And I look down and I see the score. And then I see how much time is left in the first quarter and realize that we are about to watch an ass whooping of historic proportion. So, Jess, that is by far my lifetime. Notre Dame teams putting up 70 in any regard against any team and opponent, even one where the Syracuse team, started Joseph Filardi, who's a lacrosse player who was one of the two quarterbacks that had seen time since Steve Angeli went down for this team. You knew it wasn't going to go great. But good Lord, I didn't see it going like that. I mean, you watched this live. I had to watch it back after. So talk me through the emotions of that start, particularly from the Notre Dame defense and special teams.
Wow. Honestly, it was what I wish every Notre Dame football game was like. I know that the way that life works, not to get philosophical, it's like you can't appreciate good without bad. You can't appreciate, sad without happy. Sports wouldn't mean the same if your team just won by 63 points every game. But what if they did? What if we could just experience that for one whole season, Mike? This is what my dream Notre Dame game is like, where we're 7 minutes into the game and Notre Dame's up by 3 touchdowns and CJ Carr hasn't even stepped on the field yet. So I would say my emotions were just I think I texted you in all caps, ha 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 ha, because yes. I was just it was diabolical laughter. How is this real? How is this real life?
Oh, yeah. Willow agrees. Jess, I'd say this too. That meme of you would have to be a pretty sick person to enjoy blank. That was me. I had my laptop open at the airport bar and I am watching every last second. And one of my friends turned to me and was like, wow, you might have a problem. I said, I have been through enough of the games where it's gone poorly or I've had to sweat it out, where I am going to enjoy watching every second, third, fourth string player hit that field and still go out there and put up points and have success, because I know how this goes on the other side.
Mike, absolutely. I was like, I need to see Tyler Buckner snaps. Give them to me. Feed them to me. It was just phenomenal. I remember going to a Clemson-Louisville game in 2018 when Clemson was at the peak of their powers with Trevor Lawrence, and they blew out Louisville, I believe 77-14 or 16. It was Bobby Petrino's last year, I think, at Louisville. And it was
we thought.
A massive ass kicking.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I wonder if I'll ever see Notre Dame score 70 points in my lifetime. That's just what a team does that is just so superior to the other team. And I just didn't know if I'd ever see it in my lifetime. Notre Dame's not the type of school that you see put up gaudy numbers like this, even in big blowouts. Even a couple of years ago when they were up 45-0 against Georgia Tech on Senior Day, it didn't get to 70. They didn't get to a 70 burger, Mike. By the way, Brian Van Gorder was the defensive coordinator for Louisville in that game. Anyways, fast forward to 2025. I was just absolutely speechless watching Notre Dame score this many points. And it didn't even feel like they were trying in the second half. I mean, Kenny Minchie just sort of jogged into the end zone at one point. It was absolutely just bananas to watch. I like I said, I wish every game could be this sweet and simple, as a fan who gets very anxious when anything happens.
It produced some of the funniest box score visuals I've ever seen. Because you go back and look at this, time of possession, Syracuse, 41 minutes and 50 seconds to Notre Dame, 18 minutes and 10 seconds. Syracuse, 18 first downs to Notre Dame, 16 first downs. CJ Carr had 49 passing yards in this game. And of course, the piece de resistance, Jeremiyah Love, 8 carries, 171 yards, and 3 touchdowns in this game, averaged 21.4 yards per carry. We hit another Heisman in this game. And just this game obviously fits into the larger theme of Notre Dame continuing to drive home and send the message as we get down the stretch, as the playoff committee has their decisions to make. But also now for Jeremiyah Love, like, you're at a time of year where, hey, Georgia Tech went down this weekend. Haynes King was a bona fide Heisman candidate for a long time. Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt had a rocky couple of weeks there where all of a sudden people started to maybe poke holes in that candidacy. And so obviously he's got the statistics to back it up season long. And I know you've got some of those that we can get to. But from the narrative element for Jeremiyah Love, we do always see this as a factor. One of the best player, or the best player, not one of, the best player on a team right now that I saw ESPN FPI as of right now, I believe has Notre Dame third. Like, on field, this is an incredibly well-respected football team. Put the resume to the side and all the discussions that come from that. And so you've got a best player on one of the best teams kind of arguments for Jeremiyah going through this home stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And the start for the defense and special teams was so strong that I think every Notre Dame fan was legitimately worried about what kind of time we'd actually see him get in this game, because you don't want to risk hurting your best player either in a game that's already a blowout before CJ Carr even takes the field. But then Jeremiyah Love comes in, first touch of the game, rips off another long touchdown. Like you said, 2 more touchdowns after that. One of the most efficient running back games we've ever seen. I know he broke several records this weekend for fewest amount of carries with the amount of yards that he had. So yeah, if you compare him just across time, it's hard to even find stats previous to 1996, according to the Notre Dame stats and info game notes people. But he did something that has rarely ever been done before. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Desmond Ridder were the only 2 FBS players to ever have that kind of rushing efficiency before. So that was a really cool thing to watch, that just because like the score was already out of hand and Notre Dame hadn't taken the field yet offensively, he was still able to make his stamp on a game in a game where he probably saw potentially his last ever Notre Dame home crowd cheering him on. I hope not. But.
I mean, obviously there's the potential, as we know, with the college football world's incredibly giving.
We don't know
chaos,
anything.
So
yeah.
outside chance that they could host a playoff game, but I'm kind of preparing for that to be the last time we see Jeremiyah in that stage. And he leaves as, I think, inarguably, at least in my lifetime, the best Notre Dame running back that there's ever been. And I'm sure he's going to add a ton of hardware to the case when it comes to award season. We'll see if the Heisman is one of those or not. But in terms of the overall production and just the impact, having a guy that's going to be a top 15 NFL draft pick at running back, something neither you or I have experienced since we've been on this earth. And for Notre Dame, you've got, some of the names of yesteryear. Jerome Bettis, always kind of the name du jour for Notre Dame in the running back field, especially because of what he did at the NFL level. This has been unprecedented this season. 1,580 scrimmage yards and 20 total touchdowns. The receiving prowess, we've talked about him as a pass protector a ton on this podcast. He has turned into the most complete back in college football, and it's been amazing to watch so many of those home run moments from him and Jadarian, who we'll get to on this show, as it could be both of their last games in Notre Dame Stadium, depending on the decisions they make after this year. So been a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, and if you want to make the definitive Jeremiyah Love Heisman case, I mean, you mentioned his stats this year, scrimmage yards, touchdowns. He has 20 touchdowns now. He's doing all of this with only 185 rushing attempts, which is, I looked this up, so this is Smetty stats and info. I think that this is correct though. His 185 rushing attempts is the lowest in the top 10 leaders in rushing yards this season, and his average yards per carry right now, 7.1, is the highest among backs with over 1,000 rushing yards. So what he's able to do in the short amount of time that he's on the field, because he is splitting time with another outstanding Notre Dame running back, is remarkable. I'm not a Heisman voter, so I can talk about this, Mike. I would vote for Jeremiyah Love if I had a Heisman vote. I don't think that this vote, I mean, obviously I'm incredibly biased as well, but I don't think that this award should go to the best quarterback every single year. I'm getting a little tired of it. This is a player that consistently has highlight reel plays in every single game, no matter who he's playing against. He is delivering, and he's just been incredibly fun to watch. He's I think he tied Bettis's 20 total touchdowns as what Bettis's record was in 1991 for most touchdowns in a single season. I think he's getting close to the single season rushing yards record too. So maybe he could break some more history this weekend. But yeah, it's just 185 rushing attempts, and he's averaging 7.1 yards per attempt, 118.7 yards per game, and hitting the Heisman pose left and right. So, man, I love Jeremiyah Love. Gonna miss him so much, but let's enjoy these last few games. Hopefully we get a couple more where we'll get to see him play in meaningful football games, Mike.
I know, and it'd be nice to see him healthy in a playoff game, right? I mean, going into the Indiana game last year, we all knew Jeremiyah Love was playing far less than 100%. It still produced one of the most memorable moments of the entire postseason run, the 99-yard touchdown backed up on the goal line coming off the interception by Xavier Watts against Indiana, and the run eventually against Penn State that will live in my heart forever. Yeah. I don't go a week without watching that. So, yes, very important to both of our lives, mental health, and to this Notre Dame football team. I always sound really douchey saying this, but I am fortunate enough to be a Heisman voter, so I obviously can't protest too much on this front. But you're right. This is an incredibly compelling year between the Jacob Rodriguez Heisman case for Texas Tech, a linebacker at the helm of one of the best defenses in college football, a couple of the really interesting quarterbacks, Jeremiah coming off last year where you had Ashton Genty as one of the finalists for the Heisman Trophy. So it's an exciting time to get to cover this award that for so long did feel like it was sort of exclusively for quarterbacks. A couple other notes coming off this game because it was one where you don't have to watch back much to see. One time for Jalen Stroman. This year had come in as a veteran transfer for Virginia Tech, watched Tay Johnson come and take the helm and become one of the most impactful players on that defense. Tay Johnson out right now with a hand injury that apparently Marcus Freeman said he injured punching at a football in practice. They said he's probably going to be out for these 2 weeks, but should be good to go for the playoff run if and when that becomes a reality. And so Jalen Stroman steps in on senior day and has by far his best game of the season and kickstarted this entire party with that pick six to open up the game on like play number 2. So very cool moment for him. I saw he had a lot of great things to say about his time at Notre Dame, and it was really fun to see for him.
Yeah, it was very emotional, like hearing him talk about how much he loves the team and everything like that. And, the punt block coming right after the pick six. What was so just striking to me watching this game live was every single time Notre Dame scored, being like, oh, Syracuse's offense has got to go back out there. Like, I was starting to feel like, and you shouldn't feel bad because this is like major Division I football.
Right.
Like, these are athletes. I don't want to disrespect them by saying I feel bad. But like after like the 4th series where Syracuse's quarterback's got to go in there, it just made me, it was just like a lot to see that Notre Dame have to keep kicking off back to Syracuse, watch their offense come on the field, watch them turn it over. So it was quite a remarkable football game. Notre Dame was crushed in time of possession, though. Syracuse had 41 minutes and 50 seconds. Notre Dame only had the ball for 18 minutes. And Syracuse had more first downs. It was just one of the silliest games you've ever seen.
Notre Dame's defense, 5 sacks, 15 tackles for loss.
I believe that was a record too, the tackles for loss record. Okay, there was one extremely terrible thing that happened in this game that we have to talk about. KVA, done for the season, barely even played in this game, but hurt his knee. The team says that he's out. That's a huge loss for a player on that defense that's incredibly reliable and explosive. So once again, the late season injury bug hitting Notre Dame defenders, and it's just, I feel terrible for him because he was having such a great season.
Yeah, it's been a remarkable year, coming off an injury from last year as well. And to get back to playing, I mean, he was, certainly Drake Bowen's a captain, and I think the heartbeat of that defense at that level. But KVA on any given week, I thought was our second best and sometimes best linebacker out there on the field. Incredibly versatile. Every defensive coordinator worth their salt talks about wanting a hard edge on their defense, both, philosophically, but also physically someone doing that. And Kyngstonn is both of those. You put him on the edge of line of scrimmage and a tight end's getting force-fed their own teeth, play in and play out. You let him come downhill. You let him run the passer, rush the passer. He's done everything for that team. And so losing his production, his energy, that leadership in that room he helps provide is no small loss for a team that's been without arguably their best defensive tackle in Gabe Rubio, who we hope we'll be back in time for the playoff run there too.
Mm-hmm.
But this is tough. And Notre Dame, again, last year, you talked about it, lost a number of players down the stretch of the playoff run and was able to make it happen. But it still stings both for the team loss, but also for the young man who we know has put in a lot of work to come back and be the kind of player we always thought he could be as a recruit.
Absolutely. It's a huge, huge bummer, a big loss for the defense. Before we move on to our interview, Mike, two things I want to ask you your thoughts on. The first thing is, did you see the wicked graphics that NBC put up?
Wild, like a fever dream. It's amazing. A green Chris Ash as the Wicked Witch of the West was unbelievable.
I actually did at that point think, perhaps I am dreaming this. The score is too good to be true. Now I'm seeing Elphaba Chris Ash. Something's not right. He had a witch's hat on and a cape, and a broomstick, and then Marcus Freeman was bedazzled like Glinda, and it was just so incredibly very very intentionally done cross promotion, but just so incredibly weird to see green Chris Ash. But hey, the stats that they put on the screen with which Chris Ash were pretty nice, so that's good. Second thing, Fran Brown, what an outfit. He looked so good. That bomber jacket was awesome with the hoodie underneath and the hat. He looked very good on the Syracuse sideline. So I want to commend him for, I don't know if all the other coaches in college football know that Marcus Freeman is like the gold standard now for having cool, football apparel, but he definitely dressed to the occasion of like, yeah, I'm going to be on the same sideline as someone known for their Notre Dame apparel. I'm going to put on my very best Syracuse apparel, and it looked good.
It was an absolutely insane outfit. Like I say insane, parentheses, complimentary. It was incredible. I could never pull that off. Fran Brown is someone that also has that natural like air of swagger about him and has brought a lot of that to Syracuse. Listen, their season, they were undefeated with Steve Angeli at quarterback, authored some impressive wins, and then he got hurt and everything went sideways. And at this point, lacking that kind of depth at that position is going to be a common problem across a lot of college football, and certainly was for them. I did think it was interesting. He had some really, I thought, complimentary words about Marcus and the football team in his post-game press conference. He said, I'm looking forward to not only learning from this tape, but looking across that sideline, that's what I want our team to be. That's what I want our program to be. And I thought was pretty effusive with praise for the way that Marcus Freeman has now built this program fully in his likeness. Like, we're at that point where this is the in so many ways, we've talked about the secondary development, the transformation at quarterback on offense, the different areas that Notre Dame recruiting has now created depth and quality depth on this team. Like, this is the Marcus Freeman team. And so I thought Fran Brown had some really complimentary things to say about what he saw from that, what they hope to emulate going forward.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to get to our interview now with Jadarian Price. Appreciate him stopping to talk to us about Thanksgiving pie and football and all great things. So that'll be up next on The Echoes. College football not feeling as juicy as it once did? Let me put you onto something that'll shake up your Saturday and every other day of the week.
Because now that Wendy's has crispy chicken tendies and a powerhouse lineup of new sauces, it's time you transfer to the hottest team in the league.
That's right, Team Tendies. Wendy's Tendies. They're making their undeniable rookie season one for the books. Enjoy first-string flavor from some 5-star recruits. Rep your new favorite team everywhere you go, but make sure to cheer with your mouth closed.
Take it to the end zone of savory sauces like honey barbecue, creamy ranch, and the new Wendy's signature sauce to experience a total taste bud blitz of flavor. It's time to join a team that won't upset you with an upset.
Taste the phenom that's gracing the gridiron with its juicy, crispy, and tendery tendencies. Don't fumble the bag. Commit to Team Tendies and call the most delicious plays in the playbook.
All right, huddle up, guys. Tendies on 3. Tendies on 3. 1, 2, 3, Tendies. Let's do this. Wendy's Chicken Tendies, now at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Support for The Echoes comes from Google. We heard commentators talk about the spread offense all the time, but what if you don't know exactly what that means or what makes it different from other offensive schemes?
You can keep wondering or ask your friends and hope they know what they're talking about, or you can use AI mode in Google search.
You can just type, help me understand what a spread option offense is and why a football team would choose to run it. Yep, you can ask all of that in one search and you'll get an organized and helpful AI-powered response with everything you need to know.
But it doesn't end there. Let's say you want to keep going deeper. With AI mode, you don't have to start a whole new search. You can just ask direct follow-ups like, break down how it compares to the pro-style offense based on overall philosophy, types of formations used, and pace. AI mode is great at these types of comparisons, giving you side-by-side analysis and helping you get the full story from one question to the next. So, if you don't just want to watch the game, but really want to understand it, you can just ask Google. All right, very excited to welcome into the Echo someone who's probably feeling a little bit better today than usual coming off a game weekend. Notre Dame running back Jadarian Price, fresh off being a part of that incredible outing from this past weekend, 70-7 win over Syracuse. 4 carries for 70 yards. My quick cocktail math says that's an average of 17 yards a carry. So pretty good stuff from this weekend. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Like you said, 4 carries. That's what I get in one drive in practice. So to have that in the game is unbelievable. But we came out with a win, and body's feeling great. As far as the offensive side, and thanks to the defense doing their job, making us more comfortable going out there and showing out.
So what was going through your head on the sidelines when you watched the start of the game and the score was already 21-0 before the Notre Dame offense even took the field?
Well, emotions were high just because it was senior day, so I was a little bit more hyped than usual. So that first pick, uh, Jalen Stroman, I ran all the way down to the defensive side. I was hyped. I get back, and the next thing you know, he blocked the punt, and there's another touchdown. I'm like, what? So I actually got my catapult numbers up on the sideline just from the defense doing their thing. So I got some work in on the sideline celebrating before
You
we
know
even
what?
got there.
That reminds me, I saw on one of Jeremiah's touchdown runs in the middle of the play, it looked like Malachi and Jordan Faison both like played a game of tag and actually looked like they upped their velocity to sprint to the end zone. I thought because maybe these guys were trying to get exercise in this game. I mean, listen, you've watched on the other side as your guys' defense after the first couple of games to now, the run that they've been on, the way they've complimented you guys. Just how impressed are you overall with what those guys have grown into once again as a unit this year?
Yeah, I'm really impressed, but also, not super surprised. I knew what they were capable of. They gave us hell during off season and training camp because they're a pretty good defense. They're talented. The front seven and the secondary. We know what the secondary can do, but it starts with the front seven. And I've got a chance to get closer with those guys, and like a Don Schuler. I've known him since his freshman year. We've really connected, and he's they have great leadership on the defensive side, and I'm not surprised in what they've been able to accomplish the last month.
So you did participate in senior day. Of course, we have to ask you, can you make any comments about what your plans are for next season? You have 1 year of college eligibility left.
Yeah, so that is a question that I've been asking myself, but really just going out there and finishing the season out strong. Got to beat Stanford, uh, you know, and hopefully make a long run. And I really want to win a national championship, to make that stamp in history for this team 137 for Notre Dame football. So that's all my worries right now.
You talked about it. I mean, I went through senior day twice as a true senior and a fifth year senior, and the emotions were, certainly different for different reasons in both cases. But for you, what were some of those feelings like, going out there and going through that yourself, going through it with the guys that you've been around here with for a while now?
Yeah, it felt good, especially with the guys being next to the guys that you came in with as a freshman under Coach Freeman's first official um, season as a head coach. It's a full circle moment, and it really meant a lot to me being able to go out there and meet my mom half in the middle of the field, and um, but yeah, really just being able to do it with my brothers and people I've done it with for the last 4 years.
I was thinking about how your class in particular has had such an interesting 4 years, kind of tracking the Marcus Freeman tenure at Notre Dame too. Do you have any favorite games that you've played in the last 4 years, or any favorite moments at Notre Dame Stadium? Was it this past weekend winning 70-7? Because that would also be a fair answer.
No, this past weekend was up there for sure, just because it was senior day, and putting up 70 points is not normal. But not being biased, I would say USC game every year has been my favorite so far. But yeah, that's and the playoff run we had last year. So
Let's talk about the USC game really quick because you obviously ran back a kickoff for a touchdown, which was a humongous, one of the biggest plays of the season, I would say, if not the biggest play of the season. So talk us through that play and what you were thinking about when you saw the ball coming straight for you. Did you know you were going to try to take it to the house?
Yeah, the whole thing about our KOR unit is Coach Biaggi and Coach Sider want us to be aggressive. We're not going to be dumb and take it out 108 yards deep in the end zone. But, when we get a chance, we're going to go make a play. And, just putting trust in the other 10 guys on the field, making the hole and making that path for me to go score. Shout out to those guys. But, it was just one of those moments where I'm like, I've done this before. I've been in this exact same situation in the stadium. We were actually down at that point. So I figured, when you're in big games like this, special teams has to really show up, and that's really how you can change the game, really.
Yeah, if anyone's put their stamp on the Notre Dame USC rivalry, especially in that stadium in South Bend, I'd say you've got one of the better claims of it. And certainly a lot of Irish fans going to remember that for a good long time. As far as the feelings going into this weekend, you obviously had the senior day feelings, which are all the emotions thinking about the totality of the journey. Do you guys come out with a little extra edge? The last couple of weeks has been sort of interesting in terms of the way you guys have been talked about relative to the ACC conversation and the college football playoff. It's felt like a lot of people have been saying a lot of things about this Notre Dame team. Have you guys used that as extra motivation, and did that show up on the field Saturday?
I think it's more of the fact that we've been in playoff mode since week 3. And now that it's approaching the end of the season and playoffs are coming up, it's even more like, hey, guys, we can't fall back short at all. Like, we have to keep going. And it really ramped up our, motivation and just hype. It's been hyping everyone up to just do better. And the way we prepare has been outstanding, offensively and defensively.
So this week, trip to Stanford, you said you're heading out Friday. So what are the team's Thanksgiving plans on Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday we'll all eat at the Morris Inn, a nice little Thanksgiving
Ooh.
dinner. Some people have questionable plates.
Who are those people?
Well, I'm not gonna name them, but a couple of them in the running back room, they'll eat tenders and fries on Thanksgiving, but that's, each their own. But, we'll have a good Thanksgiving meal with the team. Some family will be there too. And then later that evening, we'll get back together with the running backs and eat again and watch some football.
I know you said you have a sweet tooth, so I have to ask you what your choice of dessert is on Thanksgiving.
Oh, any pie. I don't know.
All of the pies. Got it.
What about the ideal Thanksgiving plate overall? Because you mentioned some people have questionable plates. So what in your mind is the best Thanksgiving plate that you can build?
I mean, I can name a lot of sides before I even get to like the main like meat entree. I mean, you got baked macaroni, you got sweet potatoes, you got mashed potatoes, you got green beans, collard greens, you got all of it. I mean, and I'm more of a ham guy over turkey myself, so I'd say ham. Yeah, I'm all
Yes,
Hell yeah.
ball knower right there. I was going to ask how you felt about the main protein of the day. That's the right take.
Yeah, ham is the right take. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. You said getting together with the running backs. It's in addition to ramping up to playoff time. It really seems like the Heisman candidacy talk has ramped up around Jeremiyah Love, who you share that backfield with, share that running back room with. We've talked about it. It's not even like a 1 and 2. We have 2 starting caliber running backs at Notre Dame right now. Jeremiyah just happens to be in the middle of this kind of special season. What's that been like for you to see him get all this attention from the outside, knowing the work that you've seen him put in alongside you in that room?
It's great, specifically because of what you just said, the work he's put in, behind the scenes. I think his attention to detail in practice has really stood out, and it shows the last couple of years of the way he's gone out there, and his confidence is something that really shows too as he's playing. And I couldn't be more proud of that guy. Just being able to play with a player like him and the things that we've accomplished together, it's been an amazing experience for sure.
Going back to this weekend, what is it like to have your work in the game be done so early, and then get to see some of the younger players in the running back rooms get to go out there and show off a little bit in front of the home crowd?
Yeah, that's the second home game where Aeneas scored on, like, his second or third play in the game, which just shows you how deep our running back room is and what we can accomplish, and, I'm not surprised of what they do, but, Aeneas is a good player. I'm excited to see what he does next year and the rest of the season, and, Nolan James and Jabron Payne. Um, we're a pretty tight-knit group, and just being able to be on the sideline and just kick your feet up and be like, "Okay, let's see, let's watch the other guys work." It's exciting, and it just shows, it that it's all worth it in the end, all the hard work you put in, whether you're a starter, second, third, or, if you ever get in the game, just always put in that work, and you see those guys put in that work in the film room, in the classroom, and on the field in practice, so.
We saw a lot of guys going over to the other side after that game. What was it like for a lot of y'all to see Steve again, knowing this season obviously didn't go the way he wanted it to?
Yeah, I talk to Steve every now and then, like every other week, and just checking in on him. And obviously, I went through the same injury on the same leg that he went through with the Achilles, so he had a lot of questions, and he knows that I'm always his brother, as we were roommates once. And I knew there was going to be a long line to go, hug Steve. So I was waiting my turn. When I finally got a chance to go over there, it was a wholesome moment. I'm glad I got to see him, and I'm glad he got to come up to Notre Dame Stadium and get some love from all the Irish fans.
Were you able to enjoy eating any marshmallows that came your way from the student section on Saturday?
Um, I probably got hit in the head a couple times, but I didn't catch any marshmallows in my mouth like CJ did.
Oh, I saw that video. Where
Yeah,
did
Yeah.
you
I
watch that
watched it
happen
I
live?
watched it happen. It took him about 10 minutes to get one, but it happened.
Okay, tell us about, like, set the scene for us. So, if you haven't seen this video, there are students throwing marshmallows towards the bench, and what were you watching as this happened?
Yes, like, CJ's, like, has his head over, like, the little tent, and he's like, everyone else was doing it too, but, obviously, a lot of students were throwing them his way, and, it was the end of the 3rd quarter, but, as you all know, we were up by a lot, so it was one of those moments where you could interact with the fans and stuff. And on senior day, that's the tradition with Notre Dame students, so it was great to see, especially that being the last guaranteed opportunity in that stadium. I had a lot of fun.
So we've had Sam Hartman a couple of years ago catching one in a glass of hot chocolate, and now CJ catching one here. It's a pretty nice tradition that's been built up. And CJ just looks really comfortable on the sideline all the time. We always see him laughing, smiling. Obviously, he shared a very, a poignant part of his life story this past week that I know touched a lot of people. For you guys watching him behind the scenes, I mean, we're in November now. He's not a rookie anymore, as coaches so often say. What's the biggest area you've seen him maybe grow as the seasons go along?
Yo, first off, I respect that dude a lot, you know, as a person, as a man, and what he's overcome, and him being vulnerable enough to share his story, to touch other people. And um, it definitely inspired me as well as all the other teammates. But yeah, he's very poised, he's very confident. You can see his style of play and the way he approaches the game, reads the defense, reads the safeties, and is able to check. A lot of the times when he checks it to a different run play, it ends up being a touchdown for me. So it's like I credit a lot of my success to his smarts. So he's a great player, even though he's sophomore and young, but he plays like he's old. Yeah.
All right, that's good to know. Anytime we see CJ going to the line to check and Jadarian's in the backfield, just get your
Yeah.
popcorn ready for what's coming next.
Mhm.
Speaking of what's coming next, obviously, we're not overlooking Stanford. Like you said, you guys have maintained that playoff-like focus. But I guess I'm curious, as we get towards that time of year and you guys start to think about that, what's maybe the biggest thing you learned from making the run through that playoff, format wise, what it took to win those games that you think is going to help this team this time around try and get over and get to the ultimate prize?
It's a really long season, so you just gotta focus on taking care of your body. For a lot of the students, especially undergrad, approaching playoffs season is when you get into finals. So you really gotta
Mm.
schedule your time with studying film, but also studying classwork. So it gets very hectic this time of year. But it being a long season, you just gotta sometimes take a breath and get away from football, but also stay together as a team. And we do a very good job of that, staying together outside of football. But yeah, I think we've experienced it last year, so we know what to expect. This at the end of this month and the start of next month, so we're ready for it.
Well, we're excited to watch you play this Saturday, even though we will have to stay up way past our bedtimes for it. And I'm more excited, too, to see what some of the plates look like on Thanksgiving from the team. I know sometimes the ND football account will post some Thanksgiving plate pictures. I will be scanning to see who you may have been throwing shade at earlier.
Yeah, they will expose a couple people. But as long as I get enough fuel, it's all right.
Hey, there we go. It's a beautiful thing. Hey, enjoy it. Happy Thanksgiving. Good luck this weekend, man, and congrats on all the success this season. We appreciate your time.
Happy Thanksgiving to y'all. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Echoes, a Notre Dame podcast. As always, at the ND Echoes pod on all social media is where you can find vertical clips of us yapping about football right now. We got plenty more coming up this segment, though. Hannah Hidalgo and the Lady Irish are back after this weekend, and I'm fired up. But, Jess, we got one more in the regular season for Notre Dame football on the road against Stanford, 10:30 Eastern kick that I know you and a lot of my fellow East Coast brothers and sisters are upset about. This is one of those where Pacific time, my friend, because that ain't nothing over here. But this is another one. Stanford, fresh off a win in a rivalry game against Cal that was so bad it got Justin Wilcox fired in a cycle where, oh, by the way, people just below a certain tax threshold are not firing their head coaches, right? We've seen this with
Florida State.
Florida State announced that with Mike Norvell over the weekend. Luke Fickell in Wisconsin had already announced that. Baylor and Dave Aranda this past week. So a lot of people are surveying a landscape where there's some big-time jobs open and not as many candidates to fill them, and saying we'd rather sit on the other side. And Cal, in a rivalry game where we know those carry a little bit more weight, decided, hey, 9 years of the Justin Wilcox experience, we're going to be no longer. So Stanford rolling in, at least riding high off that.
That was a painful game to watch. I'm not sure how much of it you caught, but when you have like multiple fumbles returned for touchdowns and the opposing quarterback only has, I believe, 10 completions in the game. My Calgorithm brothers, I am an honorary member of the Calgorithm, as you know, Mike. They asked me to write a foreword in their book about the Calgorithm that they are sending to me. So it was a tough loss for all of us. But yeah, Stanford's had a couple quarterbacks start for them this year. You may remember Ben Gulbranson from the Sun Bowl, who played for Oregon State at the time. He started the season for Stanford. Recently, Elijah Brown has been playing for them at quarterback. So yes, I have in my notes. He was 10 for 20 against Cal. Stanford won. And so Stanford's, they have an interim coach right now, Frank Reich. They have to hire a coach this upcoming cycle too. Andrew Luck, their GM, is going to be interviewing people for that role. I heard it's also Andrew Luck bobblehead night, I believe, on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. So they're trying to get butts in seats. The tickets are not cheap if you are in the Bay Area and you want to go. But this is a game that, if Notre Dame were to lose, it would be one of the worst losses perhaps that we've ever seen. But again, I'm a nervous fan, No, don't count your chickens, Mike, but it's a 10:30 kick on the West Coast after a Thanksgiving holiday. Wacky things always happen during rivalry week, but this will probably be the last game that's on Saturday night.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that things go the way of the Syracuse game and maybe I can get some Z's in during halftime.
I wonder if Andrew Luck would just take the job. Like, it seems like he's kind of the coach already. Like, I got a chance to interview Frank Reich earlier in the season, and he's like, yeah, I'm just here to help out Andrew. Like, I have no desire to do this after this year. Like, oh, yeah, it was very clear. Like, he was here because, he's Andrew's someone that he thinks really highly of. And, like, you saw Andrew Luck. There was the viral moment on the sideline of him being interviewed on the sideline, and then the fumble happens, and he's yelling ball and running down there. Like, he has a zest for this program that's a huge asset. Anytime you can have one of the prodigal sons return home who's motivated enough to try and help the home team, I think it's the most powerful weapon, sans a massive group of donors that come in with purchasing power. Mm-hmm. It's one of those powerful things you can have in college football. And his fingerprints are going to be all over this program. It's going to be an interesting dynamic for whoever does want to take over that head coaching job of knowing, hey, now maybe Andrew dials it back when it's a different situation and it's not what we've got this year, which is kind of a unique set of circumstances that led to Frank Reich taking the job anyway. But it's just kind of a brief aside. I have a ton of respect for Andrew, who, was my class coming out of high school, had the full circle moment of, we both played in the Army All-American game together in 2008. We're in the tunnel before the game, and I hear Andrew's, very distinct voice behind me, like, I think our dads played together for the Oilers, and I'm like,
oh, that's a good Andrew Luck impression.
It was
that
amazing.
Was beautiful.
Well, I gotta love Jack Doyle, right? but
so you think he's just gonna interview himself? Like,
ooh,
I heard you want the job.
I would take that piece on College Game Day of Andrew Luck interviewing Andrew Luck for that head coaching job. But
I wish we still did comedy on sports television. I could write that sketch of Andrew Luck interviewing himself. Yeah. Anyways,
nice.
The last Stanford game I went to, Notre Dame lost 16-14, Mike, at Notre Dame Stadium. One of the worst games of all time. So I don't like them. I don't like their tree. I don't like anything about them. And I just want to win the game and end the season.
I have nothing but the worst memories from Stanford. I think it might have been Andrew's last game there in 2011. It was like one of my first starts at center after Braxton Cave got hurt, and they had apparently tipped off the refs before that I was a little too quick with my motion, because we were a team that, doing the silent count, had the center look back between his legs, me, and then pop up, I was the indicator, and then I would snap and we would go. And I got called for like 3 false starts as the center in the first quarter of that game. Head was spinning, couldn't console me after the game. It was a nightmare. So that night game in Palo Alto, not my favorite thing of all time. Memories of Toby Gerhart looking like a Clydesdale running through our defense in 2009 there as well. So I would like to see them go and make this very easy, like you said. And then Jessica kind of gives away like the awful style points conversations that get had around this time of year. Like it's Notre Dame is trying to effort to be 10-2 going into that final poll, where, hey, if Miami goes out here and beats Pitt, and maybe that feels less certain to some people after Pitt this last weekend upends Georgia Tech, but like, I still think Miami's a better football team than them. I still think they're going to win that game. And if they do, you're going to be dealing with 2 10-2 teams who's you look right now, the strength of schedule is going to change because Stanford's so low and Pitt's going to be much higher. Like, they're going to be virtually identical metric wise. And all of a sudden that head-to-head win thing is, I think, going to be a lot more of a conversation in a way that I feel like a lot of Notre Dame fans are confident about their station in the playoff just because the committee seems to have liked them a lot. FPI has them at 3, like all the on-field metrics and power rankings love them. I'm still a little nervous about the idea of, especially with an ACC champ who's likely going to come from outside of the top 12 the same way a group of 5 champ is, that makes the 11th and 12th spots a nightmare scenario for whoever's there. I do get a little worried about how this is going to look at the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't think I can predict how this committee will end things. If, say, a couple teams like Utah almost losing to Kansas State, I think probably would have been bad for Notre Dame this past weekend. If a couple teams in that middle, and we're recording this before the new rankings come out too, so I don't know, maybe this will change by tomorrow night, but I don't know. I don't exactly know what to expect, Mike. I think winning by 63 points is a good place to be. I think that's a good argument against bumping Notre Dame for any other team. But I agree. We'll see what they do to the head-to-head if Notre Dame and Miami do become closer together in the standings, as they've sort of alluded to over the past few weeks. Miami is 6-point favorite going into Pittsburgh on Saturday. I agree with you. Pitt, Georgia Tech's defense is a lot worse than Miami's defense. Miami's defense has been a pretty good success story this year compared to last year. So I would be surprised if Pitt's able to do what they did in the first half against Georgia Tech to Miami. But Miami's also not been an awesome road team this year. So I think we're just going to have to hope something wonky happens there and Notre Dame wins. That's the best case scenario. Another scenario that could happen, Miami still has a backdoor way of getting into the ACC championship game. I know Notre Dame fans don't want to see Miami win the ACC championship for bragging reasons, but if they did, it would just make things a lot easier.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm rooting for them all the way to get into that. Hell yeah, go Canes.
Yeah, so I'm like, number one Panthers fan. Okay, if the Panthers let me down, number one Canes. No, I can't say that. Okay, let's move on from playoff talk because it's going to change no matter what. Anyways,
it
it's
is,
so
and
silly.
I can promise you, if it does, I'm not going to be out here losing my mind because Notre Dame did lose 2 games at the beginning of the season, and I have the requisite amount of shame necessary to prevent me from doing things on the timeline like we've seen.
Same. I want to talk really quickly about the Players Tribune article that CJ Carr wrote.
Yeah.
If you haven't read it yet, if you're a Notre Dame fan or if you're just anyone in the world, it's really beautifully done. He talked about his brother passing away from brain cancer when he was 3 years old. So highly recommend that. My mom was diagnosed with brain cancer when I was 5. So definitely a lot of relatable stuff in there, watching someone, a loved one, go through like really hard treatments and things like that. So I wanted to just say you should definitely check that out if you are a CJ Carr fan. It shows how tight his family is and just how much he's had to go through as a human being, not just a football player, which is, sometimes the side of players that you don't necessarily get to see on Saturdays.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something that CJ said I haven't talked a lot about publicly for my own reasons, but coming up on that 10th anniversary of his passing, felt compelled to share. And really hard to read, hard to talk about it now. Like, I'm not going to spend too much time on it or I'll start crying because it was that poignant. So
it was very heavy, but very well written by CJ and well done. And I appreciate him sharing his story with fans.
No, definitely. A lot of respect for him. Absolutely take some time and read it. You learn a lot about, that family and just, how much of a even deeper respect you can have for a young man who is a remarkable amount of maturity for his years, given what he's been through and what his family's been through.
A couple more things before we go. Mike, the basketball team. Oh, what a rebound win on Friday night against
Come on now.
The Trojans. We said last week, if Notre Dame wants to win any of the tough games coming up after that horrible Michigan loss, they're going to have to make some big changes. Well, they did. They played with defensive intensity. They gutted out a really tough win against a good USC team. Hannah Hidalgo had 22 points, 7 rebounds, 5 steals, basically played the whole game. Just incredible defense from her. Cass Prosper also just defensively, I don't know, I would not want to be anywhere near her 7 feet long arms if I were a basketball player with a basketball. KK Bransford had a good game. Vanessa De Jesus had a really nice game. It was very well done complementary basketball, which is something that you needed to see from this team and make sure it's not just going to be Hannah trying to take the ball to the rim by herself every single night, because it's not that sustainable of an offense against really good teams like this. So I don't think USC is going to be a number 1 seed in the tournament this year like they were last year without Juju Watkins, but this was still a really important and really good win for this team, who I think is still trying to work in some of the transfer players, figure out how everyone is going to play with each other. But a great win for Niele Ivey in front of our queen, Skylar Diggins, and a bunch of WNBA players that were there. So I wanted to talk about how happy it made me Friday night watching Hannah hit that buzzer beater with 1.9 seconds left. That wasn't a buzzer beater. Game winner is what I meant to say.
I would just say it was ostensibly the go-ahead shot with 2 seconds left in that game that felt every bit as clutch as a buzzer beater. And I'm with you. Watching the strong dap between her and Skylar Diggins, like a couple of the best guards in Notre Dame history, just cutting it up out there. It was really encouraging to see that coming off the Michigan game, where you're right, like kind of parallels to the football team, right? You come back with a coach everyone loves and trusts, a star player at the center of this that people feel like they can rely on, and then some newness there that might take some time to work through in order to find the identity of this team, but goes a long way. And challenging early slate of the schedule with the Michigan team that figures to be very good, although I think we're kind of seeing a gap between UConn and everybody else build right now, at least at the beginning of this season, as that didn't go so great for them. But either way, happy to see the Lady Irish get up off the mat after that one and get a big win.
Yeah, wait, looking at Notre Dame, UConn women's basketball. I think it's in January. Yeah, January 19th this year at UConn, I believe, if that's right. So got a couple months before that test, Mike. But so far, this team, I think, has at least shown you that they're going to work through some things. And, they're not going to have the same star power they did last year with Sonia Citron, Olivia Miles, and everyone. But they're still going to fight for a win. And I like that. I like rooting for a team that I'm like, you're figuring stuff out. And I like that. Okay. Before we go, Anything else? Yeah.
Well, we got to pour one out for the Notre Dame women's soccer team.
Oh,
a heartbreaker to end their season.
Tough. And against a team that we all love, the Ohio State Buckeyes, has never broken our hearts before, especially not in South Bend. That was tough to watch. Notre Dame was out shooting them the entire game, had 36 total shots, 5 on goal, and the Buckeyes still won in overtime 1-0, which stinks, but this team has a ton of underclassmen on it, and they're all going to be, hopefully, all coming back next year. So big things in the future, I think, for the Notre Dame women's team. The men's team still in the tournament, I believe, as of the recording of this. And the rugby team lost Mike sad to Belmont Abbey. Hate it. I hate ending the show on a bad note. So what can we say to uplift everyone before we sign off?
Here we go. This podcast is coming out during Thanksgiving week. We know we release on Tuesday. Thanksgiving will be on Thursday. Jess, something from this Notre Dame football season that you are thankful for, and if you'd like to slander Turkey on the way out, go ahead.
Something I'm thankful for, the home games this year, Mike. All of them, from the Texas A&M game ending in a heartbreaker to rounding out the home slate against Syracuse, winning by 9 touchdowns. I think that Notre Dame has consistently gotten better in every single home game this year. And I don't know. I was listening to Dan Hicks and Jason Garrett sign us off on Saturday night on NBC, and I got a little emotional because the season goes by so fast. So I'm grateful for home games at Notre Dame Stadium, and especially ones where they beat USC.
Yes, always have that on the thankful card going into the holidays. I'll give some love. I am thankful this year for the sports-specific leprechauns. I know a lot of people weren't sure how to feel about that at the beginning. I have loved opening up my closet and pulling out the football leprechaun every now and then as a little change of pace. The hockey leprechaun, exactly as great as I expected. My nephew Jackson has one of the Notre Dame hockey sweaters with the hockey leprechaun on it. Loves it. So it has been aces so far with the reception of those and how they have looked on Marcus Freeman in the press conferences.
Perhaps basketball leprechaun next.
Come on.
We'll see.
We need basketball and lax leprechaun soon. This podcast needs our needs met.
And yeah, before we go, turkey stinks, but I love Thanksgiving sides and pies. So I'm going to enjoy those on Thursday. I hope everyone has a happy and healthy Thanksgiving, eats lots of delicious sides, and has a plate that looks like Jadarian Price's and not, who do we think it is? Jeremiyah Love? Aeneas?
It's got to be Jeremiah.
It's got to be one of those guys.
We'll wait and see if Notre Dame Social gives up the goods for us here. Everyone have a happy, safe Thanksgiving. Good luck. Go Irish.